Right now, I should be sharing my screen. Okay. Thank you again. As Lania says, try to follow us on our social media, and we appreciate your questions and comments. And based on that, this is the formation of, I would say, the industrial design thinking show as such. Again, I'm Jeevak. I'm an industrial designer, and let me be audacious enough to start to quote from one of my best known authors, Carl Sagan, from his book, The Pale Blue Dot. Means right there, as you see, that is our home. Means on it lived everyone you love, everyone you knew, everyone you heard of, everyone that ever was always on that. See, for thousands of years of ideologies, all the pain and all the suffering, all the religions and all the economies, every hero, every coward, every hunter and forager, every king, every pheasant, every creator and destroyer of a civilization, every young couple in love, every father and mother, every hopeful child, every supreme leader, every Hollywood superstar, every corrupt politician, every saint and sinner, every supreme leader that ever lived in the entire range of human species has lived over there on that pale blue dot, on that mote of dust suspended in the sunbeam. It's again, this was from Carl Sagan, not me, but I just love the way and the weight it brings on literally currently to where we are, right? Understanding what's happening and just gives us that kind of a tremendous depth or the, I would say, compare and contrast of where we are in this infinity of time and the vastness of the space. It's just amazing to look at now, especially when we are doing more and more contemplation, looking out of our windows for some time in what's happening. But as you're looking, let's say, on from this vantage point down to our home, I think right now it is fortunately or unfortunately closed for repairs, as we know, right? Means it's not you, me, it's everybody, not just the nation, all the nations. We are in a kind of an sheltered lockdown kind of an element, and I think we are close for maintenance, and the way we use it will be better as we go forward. Because how we see it, some people are saying this is a waste of time. I completely understand that, and we can have a completely different discussion on that. But we can also look at it that this is additional couple of months of time where we get to contemplate and go deep inside our minds and try to get some time to think about plenty of things, right? One of the commonest complaint that we know our culture and society is facing about is the lack of time. And it has always been there, right? Means I have been on, this was 4 or 5 years ago, on an automotive mobility conference, and one of as a keynote speaker, and I was talking about time is currency. And now we all are talking about that, of how we want to evolve our design of a motor car or electrical car or any other apparatus and equipments and tools and gadgets we are using, where we can make more convenience. So when we were always yearning and looking out for the availability or the non-availability of time, if you want to think from that perspective, now we have time. Means one thing for sure, I know whoever is there right now on this webinar, just look here, close down everything, don't get distracted, just listen to this. We already are there in here for last 2-3 weeks, 3-4 weeks, depends on where you are. We might be still like this for at least 1 month, if not 2 months more. This, by the way, would be the year of no spring, as we know it. Spring will be there. We might not be enjoying as we should. So we understand this is the year of no spring. But the reason I said you to be really forceful in listening to this is we're going to come out of this no matter what. But let's come out of this not with a beer and a donut in hand. Let's come out of this with our lives changed. And now we have the time to look at that small art we want to generate, or the talent we want to develop, or the books we want to read, or maybe you want to finally get on this weight loss diet element kind of a thing that we all are always, I would say, frustrated with. This is the time. The thing is, whatever aims and ambitions or aspirations or goals you might set for yourself in 1 or 2 for this 1 or 2 months, at the end of it, you have to come victorious. I'm not a certified personal trainer or anything like that, but I have advised or talked with many of my friends. I lost 47 pounds a couple of years earlier, so somehow something I did worked, and I am very okay to share what I did with people who ask me about what I did for that. The main element that I asked everybody to start that conversation was, What was it that was stopping you from not being on the health, fitness, nutrition bandwagon? The overwhelming one element that everybody told me was lack of time. I don't have time. I'm running here, I'm running there. Now, there is no more excuse of that, at least. So at the end of it, if you have not attained your physical fitness goal, it might be weight loss, or it might be fat loss, or it might be conditioning or strength or agility, depends on what you want to put yourself in. If you don't emerge out victorious, you are plain lazy. You will always remain fat. No matter of any, I would say, coaxing or motivation or inspiration is going to move your needle in that. Right now is the time to work on it very meticulously and very systematically. Discipline is what will help us make use of what time we want to do. Yeah, we might not be able to go for a cross-country run. Maybe cross-country we can, maybe not with the team members as such. But time is right now on your side. And on all this list of to-do things, there would be elements where you can make the most of it. So let's hope we all are trying to do that as we come out of over here. And when I said you can chart out what goals you want to solve, it has to be your goals, right? One thing that I always try to stress out, and this is good for, right now we're talking about a person, you and me, not just an organization or a constituency or an association, but this is very well applicable to any company you are working with. The main thing for you or a company or your studio is to find your own constellation. See, out there in the night of the sky, there are millions and millions of stars, or as Carl Sagan is attributed to billions and billions of stars. That's are the needs, the wants, the desires, the dreams of people. The thing is, people or you also, the end user, we are the part of the end user, I would say, constituency too, is trying to understand which ones are your stars that you want to solve. Find your own constellation. Just because some other company has a constellation over there, or the other person has lost 50 pounds of weight, and so you want to lose weight based on what he or she is doing. That's not the right way. Try to copy their goals, try to copy their behavior, not what they are doing. Then you come back to your own stars, your constellations, understanding where you lie, what you want to do, a chart, a plan for yourself. And that becomes a really strong thing in understanding. Copying can only go so much far away, right? Means another element that I would like to quote right now is John Nash. He got a Nobel Prize award for his gaming theory. One thing he always said, not always, in his entire tomes of volumes, he said was, it is more about gaming strategy. If you were to know each and every, I'm paraphrasing, if you were to know each and every iota of the other person's or other company's strategy, and even then you don't change what you are doing, that's when you are in Nash equilibrium. In normal everyday means is you have to understand your goals based on where you are, your current state, and then your desired ideal state, the ideal user experience that you want to go and have with, and then chart out your ways to go and reach there. So reaching there might have some boundaries. People always say boundary. It's never a boundary. It's always a, talking a little bit more about the syntax of the theme we are setting up. It's always a horizon. It's because you know, essentially, we are assuming that you know where you want to go. Let's say you want to go in that direction. There typically not be a boundary. You go and walk a little bit, it will come to a newer horizon. You go and climb that hill, you will get to look at a newer horizon. It's not saying that the end goal is always going to escape you. It's saying is you don't need to know each and everything and chart out your entire playbook plan. It's nice to have a plan, but making sure you have enough flexibility in that. And that's the element of making sure you find your North Star or your constellation and make sure you know the kind of tools you want to carry. It might be you, or it might be the consultants you might be working with. It might be your personal trainer, your mentor, your spouse, your kids, whoever it is. They give you tools to go to the next horizon. So that should be a pretty important one to go forward with. Another element is when I talk about personal goals, nice to find your own strengths. This is an amazing small book, Soar with Your Strengths, and it starts with a nice parable actually. That cartoon is not from that book. The parable is pretty simple. It's kind of a small mummy rabbit, a father rabbit, and they have a small, let's say, a bunny, their kid, the first day at school. Both the mom and dad are anxious how is going to fare at the school, how will happen, what will happen. So in the morning, we drop him on the school bus. Out goes the bunny, hippity hop to the school. There were other classmates and elephants and monkeys and fish and everything else. Let's not go into the world of reality. It's still a parable. The first day was, I would say, running races. The normal bunny was really happy, hippity hop. He just came first in all the races, the sprints, marathon, and everything else. In the evening, he comes home. He talks with the dad and mom, like, how was the first day? It was excellent. I love it. I want to go to school. Believe me, any mom and dad, when the kid says, I want to go to school, it's like, you have made it. The next day, they drop him to the school bus. Out goes him. He comes back in the evening, a little bit sad. Next day, third day, fourth day, he's not the really always excited, energy bubbling bunny as we know. When they have their first PTA, the parent-teacher conference, I'm just imagining my own conferences as such, not when I was young, right now with my kids. And then go talk with the teacher. The teacher says, like, you know what, this young bunny over here, he's really great in sprints and marathons. We don't need to work on that. What we need to work on him is how he is going to climb the trees, how he is going to swim in the pond. And I will not go on and on, but that's essentially what happens sometimes. Everybody is instinctually born with some strengths and some weaknesses. Eventually, we go to school, we go to a vocation class, we get and learn talents and skills, and you build a repertoire of your strengths. And not everything can be as strong as you want. There will be certain elements of weaknesses. So the entire element here is how to make sure you, first of all, understand what strengths you have, and out of them, which might be a little bit more unique and compelling, which might be paired together to blend together as such, and then making sure you are still trying to make sure you collaborate with somebody or you get help from somebody who might help you in that world of, I would say, the weaknesses, but always try to make sure you work your strengths so strong that eventually when we say collaboration and we get different teams on the table, the main there is what you bring to the table. And if you bring your uniqueness and compelling in it, then that's the main part that you would always want, or we will also want when we interview with designers or engineers or researchers to bring on our staff. So understanding the strengths and making sure you start working on it pretty strongly too. At least the third part right now, and in this segment, it's a tonight show, right? I forgot about that. Is about being fearless. And when I say fearless, it's not touching a shark or going on doing some really crazy fearless things. That's a different kind of fearlessness, and I'm not demeaning that. Fearless in the world of how, especially right now, post COVID-19 kind of an environment, the actions you're taking, the imprinting that's going to remain on you and the end users of how to look at certain things or certain domains is how you go and start the questioning part. Just asking questions like a prick is not what I'm saying. Is making sure you try to go, and there is a way to dive deeper and deeper and take out the layers and trying to understand the foundational truth, right? Truth is a pretty important element, trying to go to the point of origin and to understand what's happening on the field. Means, yeah, we also do, I would say, we have a dedicated research lab and we have focus rooms. We use that where we have to control certain variables to make sure we are testing it appropriately. But making sure you have to go and bootstrap and be in the shoes of the people whose problems you're going to solve. And then you uncover the constraints. You uncover the patterns too. It's not just uncovering the patterns. You also have to understand the anomalies that coming out with, and then go and try out to the seed of what's happening, what is putting in that anomaly in a normally behavioral based pattern elements as such. So that's where it will be about the fearlessness in asking questions, and that's where the design research becomes pretty important in how you construct it, how you build it, how you arrange it, how you make sure you take all the first I would say biases away. Confronting the conformational bias is a pretty tricky task, but there are ways and techniques and tools that we use to make sure we understand how the biases can be taken to the side, and then we can objectively look at what needs to be done for the job to be done. And then you can release that through the blending of the hardware, the software, the service, and the digitization part of it. So those, at least to start with, would be the three things, if at all, of how we might want to look at things: the constellation, the fearlessness, and then the strength part of it. Let's see what we have next. right now, of all the times, I need to invoke a story. It's a real world story, actually. It's actually, again, I barely know English. I'm going to attempt to pronounce a French name of a French village, La Chambon. Maybe Lanea can help me. She's fluent in French too. And there's a long name for that village. This was in the time of the World War II, 30s, 35 till 45 element, really bad time in the Europe as such. The Nazis were doing what they were doing at that time, atrocities on people, and people were refugees and not normal refugees, and Jews were trying to flee from those areas, and they were trying to hide. Right, means we know certain elements of how people were hiding, and Diaries of Anne Frank, and all those things, I think we know. But the element of this village was, I'll just let you know what happened in the span of 3 to 4 years. In the span of 3 to 4 years, this village, La Chambon, gave refugees and Jews a safe house to live, not just in the village, but the surrounding areas. And they saved life of more than 5,000 people. Out of that, only 24 or 25 people were caught and sent to concentration camps. But they lived a normal life on the surface, but they housed and provided food. Not only that, the sustenance of life, they also provided a school, underground school for the kids of those people that they were supporting. But the main element here is, and this was an amazing article. If you want, Lanya, eventually we can send a link in our chat box to the article. It was work done by two psychologists slash psychiatrists from University of Michigan a few years ago, a few decades ago. It's about the ordinariness of goodness. The entire element means you don't have to be a hero to do something really phenomenal. Yeah, if you're Captain America or Spider-Man, follow me on Instagram. I would like to follow you also. But the notion is you don't have to be a hero and do some heroic deeds. This village, by its action, a normal, completely ordinary men doing ordinary things. They did not come together at a village meeting and planned a big strategy that this is what we are going to do. That's the aim, 5,000 people to save, give food, give sustenance, give school. No, it just happened by some simple and everyday deeds that they did. Like, okay, is a small family coming in, maybe I will take him, the milkman takes him in his house, the other, the cobbler takes him in his house, then the pastor takes another family's in house. And it started in those elements and eventually proliferated. And almost everybody in the village was helping other families. There were a few people, there were few people who did not help, but they remained completely quiet. Some of the village elders and also the respected people lost their lives also because they were brutally tortured when people came in to check all the houses and check everything where they're hiding. Almost every time they did not find people. 5,000 people, you cannot just imagine how they saved it. But again, coming back to the main point is ordinariness. Each and every day, the volume of actions, a good deed leads to another good deed, and the good deeds also keep on compounding. And that compound interest means we know how the mechanism works for the bank or the money you have, or arguably the money we have in the bank over there. But the compounding part of element is not just on commodities or let's say a barter trade or money elements. It's also on the deeds that we do. So the element here to learn is like we all do not have to be the presidents of our nation or the CEOs of our companies. Every small deed, especially right now, means I know those times were extra horrendous and extra really bad. Right now also we are in a lockdown, but we still have electricity, we still have food supply lines pretty set up, and everybody's trying to see how we can come out of this in a couple of months. Eventually normal life will return back to normal with the vaccines inventions and all those elements. But even then, right now, each and every small good deed, it might be just for you, it might be for your family members or spouses or your member or your neighbors, is really going to be a pretty big heroic task. And some of us are already doing that across the world. We get plenty of still rubbish from the amazing world of social media, but we also see some heart-moving examples of how people are helping each other. Not just the doctors and nurses and essential helpers; those are doing amazingly jobs. They are the real heroes. But other people also can be motivated or can take themselves to the next level by doing ordinarily good deeds as we go forward. Let me do a time check just to make sure we are where we are. So trying to add a couple of segments in this thing. And again, as Lanea was mentioning, this is in response to things that I think you, our audience, and our followers are throwing at us about what inspires you, or what are these three things over here, what are the three rules over here. So I think one thing that we should need to do right now in this element of vacuumness is address at least these 10 elements, which I always have a pet peeve. And we have a guinea pig at house. So one of the 10 things is, number one is the guinea pig itself. Like, the guinea pig is not a pig. It's just a rodent. So the entire element of even the observations, the behaviors and everything is not there as a pig. They're actually more in the world of rabbit family. I'm not a zoologist or something, but we can see that happening. So why do we change and make lives a little bit more different? Like, the second part is, I think, the prairie dog. A prairie dog is not a dog. It again is a rodent. There are so many examples like that. I love birds. The biggest abundant bird in the US is the American robin, which is not a robin, it's a thrush. In the old world, we had the normal robin, the European robin, and when the first, I would say, immigrants came over here, they saw some likelihoodness and started to call it the robin. I think we should change some of these names back to the normal, I would say, logical, I would say, vernacular too, right? Means talking about birds, means there is a northern water thrush, which is not a thrush. Means the American robin is not a robin, it's a thrush. And a northern water thrush is not a thrush, it's a warbler. And there are so many things, like the sperm whale is no way shaped near sperm whale. At least it shows some of the doctors or zoologists or researchers have some angle of humor in them. But again, I think man-made things also, right? Means the Madison Square Garden in New York is neither a garden, neither a square. It's Scotland Yard is not in Scotland. We always talk about food, salmonella poisoning is not based on salmons in the fish or in the river or the ocean. The name of the inventor was salmon, and based on the name, that's why it's called salmonella poisoning or things like that as such. Zucchini, normally the name itself sounds nice, Italian rhythm to it, right? It actually predominantly, I think we know, is grown there also, but it originated back in South America, and then from there, even potatoes, everything, they came from over there to Europe, to India also. But zucchini should have its own earlier name also coming to it. I don't know, but did we make 10 of them? The whale, the zucchini, salmonella, Scotland, thrush, robin, prairie dog, guinea pig. So I was just going to add something, and maybe every tonight show we'll try to do some different 10 elements as such. Another thing about inspiration is most people cite its nature. You might have seen me talk about the user interactions and how we do that in the world of categories and society and culture. We will not be looking now inside it. We have done that many times. Let's look at outside, the nature part of it, which is a completely different domain, and maybe every time we can try to talk a little bit about nature. By the way, will always be inspired by nature. There are some beautiful perceptions that we have of nature, but let's try to look at some of the facts of nature and how it might finally relate again back to the world of industrial design thinking, right? Some things, maybe at least three things about evolution. When we say the product evolution, right, means we are evolving our product from generation 1 to generation 2. I think the word evolution there is like kryptonite, because evolution by definition itself is excruciatingly slow process. In the world of innovation, slow doesn't sell, so slow doesn't work. The market needs something, we need to do it right now. So evolution, in a way, if you go at the way of the meaning or definition of it, is really a slow process. But other part about that is, when you look at evolution, and if you believe it or not, that's a different area, but the way evolution is defined, it just happens. There is no end point. There is no, let's say, a point, a North Star, where that's where we want to go and let's try to evolve and see what works and what sticks. No, evolution is of a tree. It's a push. It just randomly goes everywhere and anywhere. And eventually one of them may hit or may not hit. So in the world of our, let's say, design thinking, we typically make sure we have an hypothesis or two or three, and then we go and catch ourselves to go where we want to go. When we say we have an ideal user experience in mind, we generate that future. So we are not looking at the plausibility, the probability, the possibility of the future scenarios. We do the generative future scenario. So that's where the evolution word loses its meaning. Another, maybe the third part of the evolution part is it's not seldom. 100% of the time, it doesn't regress back. It doesn't go back. It's a one-way street. A giraffe, now say, let's say the heights of the plants will come down, the giraffe's neck would not shrink back in. It is going to be that or higher. Only twice, only twice, I think, as long as the science has been done, that they have seen the sign of regression in evolution. One was about the start of the mammals, when their eyesight was completely black and white, and then it went to the colored elements as such. And there is one more element, and that help us to identify if the fruit on the tree is ripe or not. So the color coordination really helps. Our eyesight is not as big, as great as compared to birds or some other animals and reptiles as such, but it's decently over there. The other example I completely forget right now. Talking about just the world of nature or the species, I think 99%, this is a sad thing, but it is true. And now to look at, I would say, the natural animal creatures on this earth in the world of COVID-19, 99% of the species on earth are extinct. 99, more than 99%. The real thing is extinction is the rule. Survival is an exception. I still have belief in our scientists who are right now working on the vaccines or the invention of vaccines and such, but that has been the norm for the life itself on Earth. Not to take it into any other let's say a dreary element, but let's try to look at the conditions making us, and it's related to eventually the world. Everything, at least in my opinion, is related to the way we look at product design or the design of product ecosystems. So sometimes you say like, hey, some of the animals are so amazingly evolved to fit into their niche of the ecosystems. It's the other way around. The conditions around us has forced or helped us evolve into the way we have. We may have talents, not me. The animals might have talents or fangs or bursting speeds or eyesights or flight abilities. All those things are there because the conditions mold us. Actually, the element is nicely explained by Charles Dawkins in his book which mentions about the genetic pool. It's pretty. Again, I'm going to paraphrase his quote. We are literally molded by the dead hands of our ancestors. It's pretty weird to think about that. Whatever we are doing, we are molded by the dead hands of our ancestors. Essentially, what he is saying is the genetic pool makes you. Let's say a camel in a Saharan desert. The camel, the elements on the camel, the features, the attributes he or she, the camel has. I don't know what a female camel is called, Mrs. Camel, are all based on the way the environment is around there, about the response to less precipitation, response to more sun, response to the sandstorms coming in, response to how to evenly distribute weight with these big pads in the field. Same thing in savanna too, right? But the element is, let's say, a deer. All the deer or deers who are surviving right now, they are because they have that genetic pool, intrinsic elements built into their DNA, which help them respond to the stimuli over there. It might be, okay, that's a lion, we have to run, or that's a bear, we still have to run faster, or all those things happening over there. But the element here is the same conditions The same conditions also mold the lion cub also to understand or let them know how to go and catch, how to be stealthy, how to hide themselves inside the, not inside, yeah, inside the grass bushes and be stealthy in capturing those animals. So some animals use the same conditions to mold themselves to be the fastest running away animals from these carnivores against herbivores. So the how to understand the conditions, and that's what we try to derive back to our world of, let's say, product ecosystems, right? You want to design a toaster. It's not just the toaster over there we should be looking at. You have to understand what is the genetic pool of the other products around in its product ecosystem, right? Talk about uh, smart cities. Okay, what does a smart city mean to a smart house? Smart house to a smart kitchen to the conditions around the toaster. But what's happening over there means Alexa or Google do this or Google do that or something else, right? Means that at least there is no touch happening over there. Is going to be gestures or feet control or voice control. But understanding those conditions make us understand, okay, we are looking at some category, some product, how to make sure it can survive there based on the ecosystem over there. The conditions make us too, as humans too. We always think uh, that we are who we are based on our internal values and internal value structure and makeup. But typically the situation, the conditions overrule what we need to be thinking. Right now, even though I'm in my house, my behavior is different right now with you in a, let's say, professional setting. The moment I go there in the evening with my kids, I will be jumping around, horsing around. Let's say, behavior in a wedding is different. Our behavior with our friends is different. Our behavior with our school friends in a locker room is different. Everybody is, no matter what, the way we express ourselves. And that's because we are a part of the society. We are not just raw, blunt, uh, unempathetic and unsympathetic animals as such. Those will be animals. We are, let's say, humans or Homo sapiens as such. So the conditions even help us understand what the mental conditions are. So when we design products, let's say, for that condition ecosystem over there, we also have to think about not just the person. Means we understand the demographics, we understand the psychographics, but the same person we know is going to be different when he is, let's say, doing an OCR, an obstacle course run. He will be wearing completely different hat to make that run versus the same person coming back and being a normal, let's say, a banker or a financial person and doing his normal everyday things, wearing with a tie. Understanding what would be that mental model of the same person in that condition versus a different ecosystem, and that's a pretty important element that we need to consider too. We can go with this mind to muscle thing. The time is going pretty nicely. So BHAP, most of us know, is the big, hairy, audacious problems. Right now in the world, apart from COVID-19, there are still a lot of big, hairy, audacious problems. There is still poverty, there is still obesity, there are still pollution is a little bit less right now. I cannot say that immediately. By the way, whatever happened in 1 month, the earth heals itself pretty fast. It's fascinating to see the haze, the Asian brown haze, or even the pollution from our part of the world also nicely dissipating too. But coming back to the mind muscle elements of how the simplicity, by the way, simple, complex, complicated, I will not try to differentiate right now, but not being complex has to be simple, or not being simple has to be complicated as such. So there are ways to not just semantical definitions, but really meaningful definitions to understand that. But over here, the element is sometimes, not sometimes, most of the times, the answer is simple to identify. This is the main big, hairy, audacious problem. Even for those problems, for everyday things, answer simple. The way to reach there, how to translate that, how to execute it, how to make sure everybody goes there, a collective whole, is really complex. And that's where the more structured industrial design thinking name comes. And obviously, you cannot let me go without giving you an example, right? Means tech obesity, it is still a big problem, especially to our nation, the USA. I know the webinar is global. I think in many countries, obesity is a problem. The answer is simple. Only three things: exercise regularly, eat clean, watch your portions. This is it. It cannot be any simpler than that. Exercise regularly. The volume is the main thing. The consistency is the main thing, not just the intensity. Intensity can be secondary. Second, eat clean. We all know what clean food is. I have done that experiments with my 6-year-old. Now she is a little bit more smart, Alex, than I hope she should not be. But I did experiments with smaller kids, like 7, 8 age, who are, let's say, not my kids, and gave them 10 things to arrange in what they think is cleanest to the dirtiest food. The donut goes all the way over there, and broccoli goes all the way over there every time. 100 out of 100, no problem. It's so every person innately knows if he or she is eating a slice of a donut, not slice of a donut. Oh, that's a pretty interesting conjecture. They know what it is happening. So just follow them, and portions. Just eating clean food, but volumes of it will also make you fat. That's the way human body is designed to make sure extract things and put it into the fatty cells of the body. So the answer there is so simple. You don't have to be a CEO, president, I don't know, a person of a royalty to not eat and binge on it. The answers are simple. How to reach there? Because there are so many distractions happening in life, right? Means we have been evolved not along with, let's say, a fast food vending machine. We do not have any defenses set for us to think about that is bad. Everything else was evolved together. Like, oh, I am afraid of something, or no, we cannot jump like that, or no, we can go and eat that root, no, we cannot eat that berry. All those things were always, it's called the arms race. It's actually a technical term in the world of, I would say, science. There's always an arms race happening between ecosystems too. But suddenly the innovation, the other aspects, the other shadow of innovation in that, I'm not just deeming the food industry or any other industry. It's just what it is. But we know the simplicity of the answers. And the same thing can happen to plenty of other big, hairy, audacious problems. And how to go through that, how to understand, and not always with the excuse of habit. Like it's habit, it takes 3 months to break the habit. Sometimes going cold turkey is amazingly simple. Yeah, 2 or 3 days of little bit, I would say, anxiety as such. But there are we can maybe have an entire session about the easiest, not easiest way, at least the way that I found it to be the easiest to drop 47 pounds. It's you just have to understand it. You have to understand one main thing is, and that's available, not available, that's around us right now. Pain is given. I'm not just talking about, let's say, weight reduction or exercise or restraining against a donut. I love donuts. Pain is given, suffering is not. So right now also there is pain around. Means we are all locked down, right? Means, yeah, we cannot just run out there and do what we typically are used to do. Pain, we are all going through it, but there should not be any suffering. We are, I would say, arguably intelligent enough to find meaningful ways to keep on expanding our brain and the brain muscle and flex it. And just keep on doing that with the discipline. It doesn't have to be brain power too. If you're always, let's say, as they say, living in a pigsty and not cleaning up your house, 2 months, you can get your house clean as quick as a span. So there are so many things that can be done right now. After this 1 or 2 months, I think the main thing is people are going to ask each other, tell me the 3 things you did in the last 2 or 3 months. And those answers really have to be really good, really meaningful, really purposeful, really have to be sure that you can change your ways to look at different things. Talking about 3 rules. So this will be another segment, let's say, to our tonight show. And we may or may not go through all of that. The last is basically a question out for you. If you want to, let's go with at least the first 2 laws as such, so you'll understand. I should not say laws. Rules is pretty good. Laws becomes too constrained as such, constrained in the thinking elements as such. So not that only 3 rules be there to help us understand the animal behavior or the triad of what they do, but it will help you understand the question I want to throw out to the audience is, I want you to define, I don't want to define, but let's say characterize or put some attributes there, or what might be the top 3 rules of industrial design. That's the question for everybody. Like there are scientists who somehow have found a nice foundational level of what is a triad of animal behavior. 3 things. Some of these things are completely against to innovative thinking. First, the law of conservation of energy. Every animal tries to retain its energy within itself. Just because it's a cheetah or let's say a golden eagle, they will not just keep on running and flying around. No, 9 attempts out of 10, around 8 to 9 attempts go fail for a tiger or a cheetah to hunt. It's lots of expenditure of energy in that particular area. So the first thing is conservation of energy, and that should not be excused, but that's why we have become so lazy. I want to invent a remote control. I want to not go over there and flick the switch off. Alexa, get the lights. It's because of the law of conservation of energy, and that's pretty convenient too if you are using that time to do something more meaningful as such, right? That's the first. Second is we are pleasure-seeking animals. And that pleasure in the animal kingdom is food and sex. This is it. Hopefully I will not go into details about the second one. But the reason of going against always food, especially now when we are in the house, we are so near to the pantry. I think I have asked my wife to put a lock on the pantry. Does any house has a lock on the pantry? Or am I missing a lock on my pantry? I don't know. I think architectural people should try to at least add a lock on the pantry and put a time lock on it. So coming back to the second law is the second law is we are pleasure-seeking animals, food and sex. That is it, means reproduction is a holy grail of the entire animal kingdom. Always that thought in mind. So I don't think you are a pervert or something. It has always been your mind. It's because that's how you are geared up. And the third one is, we talked about the conservation of energy. No risk taking. How silly of me. No, I did not forget that. We do not want to take any unnecessary risks. Like humans are the only craziest animal. We go in the plane and jump off the plane with a parachute. We go spelunking. We go underwater in scuba diving. No good noble animal, a tiger will come to the edge of the cliff. If there is a way to go around, it will be a way to go around. It will not just jump off the cliff into a body of water, even though it knows it can swim. So there is a risk aversion nature ingrained into us, and somehow that gets the business-minded people, I would say the engineering-minded people, or let's the people who do not want to take risks to keep on changing their product line for better, right? Not just change for change's sake, but that's what the incremental element about why people are so afraid of change, because somehow we find comfort in the things which are taken in a good way for granted, and we do not want to be in the world of uncertainty and in the world of unknowns. And that's even COVID-19 is proving that we are not used to living in a world of uncertainty. And that is the main reason. There are two reasons actually for explaining why people shopped for toilet paper. Why was the reason? Why was that frenzy to go and buy toilet paper of all the things in the world? That two reasons. One, we are not used to be in the world of uncertainty. And second, people have a herd mentality, copycats. Somehow something somewhere somebody started to load up on them, and some people say like, I cannot control COVID-19. I can at least control what I can have at my home. I will go with hand wash solutions and toilet paper. So those randomly got picked. It could have been something else too. But that's how it started with those things. So uncertainty and unknownness is what we always tussle against. Those are the three triads of enable behavior. 3 laws of robotics. And again, this is not an international convention about that, but I love Isaac Asimov, one of the most amazing writer, futuristic writer. We always know Sid Mead as a futuristic visual designer. This guy was a writer and an inventor of this future world scenarios as such. There are some YouTube videos of him. Amazing person. So he somehow wrote 3 laws of robotics, and those are pretty interesting in this world of the world of digital twinning, of the AI coming on us, right? Means we are in that particular world, and we are looking at how to utilize it nicely to help mankind as such too. His law of robotics were actually, they were also a part of the movie of iRobot as such too. The first is, no robot will make harm to a human either by action or inaction. As simple as that. He or she, what should we call a robot? Let's call it a he, would not cause any harm to the human species, or maybe your pets also, or cattle too. Second law of robotics. no human, no robot will actually will listen to another humans. Basically, the thing is, no, I missed that. I'm sorry. Right here. I'm ready. A robot must, the first one, a robot must may not injure a human being. I talked that. A robot must always obey orders given to him by a human being. So he will always be in a state of obedience, right? He'll always be, let's say, he will be servant to, how did I go forward? He'll always be servant to your rules. But he will also do that unless and until it is in a conflict with rule number one. Like if you are a human and you tell your robot to go and kick his ass, he should not do that. And the third is a robot must always protect its own kind and keep on maintaining its existence by not being in conflict with rule number one and rule number two. It's if you look about that, it's pretty good in the world of AI of how we should be trying to modify or remodify or design the products we want to. A robot, don't necessarily think about a walking, talking robot. It can be a small piece here listening to you, taking your commands too. So the laws of ID, I think if you want to put any three top level things that should be done for the laws of industrial design, these are the three things we should be always most probably considering. It will be nice to see your response on that. Drop an email or put that in the chat or put that in the question box as such too. How much time we have? Oh my goodness, only 10 minutes. Let's go back. Let's go back a little bit. Know how to respond to your beliefs rather than always reacting to the stimuli. It's pretty interesting of how you look at those elements. By the way, the BHAP should not be here on this slide. Sorry for that. That's where it comes to the element of how you make sure each and every day you are gleaning the facets or the wisdom and nuggets of wisdom and keeping it in your backpack, right? And wisdom is the last part. It starts with data, then it comes to information, then to knowledge, and then nuggets of wisdom. The thing is how you start to build your bag of beliefs, right? And then you make sure you respond to it rather than always reacting to what things are happening around. I'd like to give a small personal story example. Actually, the house in this across to it, that's where Mac lives or used to live. He now moved to another city. So I came to this house during the 2009-8 kind of an meltdown. As such, that's the only time I could literally afford to buy a house of my own. I was in another house which was rented, leased as such. So it's a pretty nice, I would say, a nice locality, great people, and that's why we chose it. It was a little bit beyond my limit, but because of the 2008-9 elements, I could afford to do the mortgage payments for the next 30 years, I would say. So we brought I try to make it as succinctly small as possible. On the first day we moved over here, got the movers and packers. They kept plenty of things inside. I love outdoors, by the way, not just outdoors, but outdoors, lawn maintenance and all those things. So the inside of the house belongs to my wife, the outside belongs to me, kind of a thing. That's how we started taking care of chores. Don't tell her I got the easiest one. But I take care of my outsides really interestingly. I have vegetable gardens and all those things too. So first day we moved in, everything was inside the house. All my garden tools were outside. I have decently a good kind of an, I would say, repertoire of lawn garden tools. I have a nice ride-on lawn mower and some pretty good commercial tools that I got from amazing the garage sales as such. So everything was there. The first day, we got the position for 20 days, so the lawn was pretty high. So the first thing I said, like, you try to think about the boxes inside the house and kitchen. I will make sure it looks good, right? Means I have to make an impression on my neighbors, and everything has to be on the curb appeal. So first day, I spent amazing time on my lawn and just took meticulous care of it. And I was in my lawn clothes, shabby clothes, shabby hat, little bit unkept beard as such. By the way, I'm still Jeevak. I just tried to do this during the COVID-19 thing is. So I was doing care of it. I was thinking about like, this is a new house now. I have always been on these TV shows and see how people, I would say, receive their neighbors, maybe with a bottle of wine, maybe some lady will come with a baked cakes or brownies or muffins or something. I was just keeping all those kind of 60s and 70s movies in mind. Nothing was happening. I was still mowing my lawn. I was looking at things. I could see some movement across, no, this way, across the house from Mac's side. And I could see like, yeah, that neighbor is looking through his windows, looking at me. He's going to come and say hi. And I was on, at that time I was on my lawn actually, or lawn mower actually. And this Mac guy comes in, nice, middle-aged, average American Caucasian white guy. He comes in, walks towards me. And I was thinking about he's going to just invite me and just, this is it. I was looking at the future. And this is what he said. Let me remember what he exactly said. He said like, how much do you take to cut the lawn? And I was like, completely blank. And I know I'm pretty fast on my feet, but I had nothing to respond. Like, yeah, I mean, I was dressed like, I would look like a pretty nice a lawn person taking care of my lawn, a professional guy, just bought in there to cut the lawn as such. And I did not respond to him. So he thought I did not know English. I think I know English, but he thought I did not know English. And he started to ask me again in slow things, how much do you take to cut a lawn? And at that time, I made sure I did not react to the stimuli. I could have reacted in the way that would have been pretty good too. And he said like, yeah, sorry, and went down. I said, $30. What do you think? And he said, $30 for my entire lawn, including edging and all those things. And I said, yeah, $30. And he said, okay, do it. Guys, lawn mowing is simple. You just have to cut. I just went there. 45 minutes, just did the same thing, did a nice edging and everything. It was perfect. I told you I love lawn maintenance. And he comes out after 45 minutes when I was again trying to take care of my tools as such. And he said like, here it is, $30. And then he thought for a couple of seconds and he reached out and got $2 and tipped me $2. And I said, okay, that's pretty good. He said, you're doing a pretty good thing. Give me your card or give me your brochure or something. So I will tell to my other neighbors. And I said, okay. My car was right there. I reached inside the car, got my card, industrial design, VP design, whatever that was. I gave it to him, gave a brochure of our company. And then suddenly it was his time to be completely dumbfounded. Like he knew exactly what happened. And he said like, I am so sorry. I should not have done like this. I said, wait, no matter what, I'm not going to give you your tip back. So it was pretty amazing. It was hilarious till to this day. We still go and enjoy. He's not here more, but he comes and visits a long time. But the entire thing is sometimes we get so much hooked on to, I would say, the confirmational biases or a little bit of ego here and there, rather than just responding to what it is. It was not his fault, but the way I was dressed, the way I was doing things, it was a normal, I would say, an everyday average mistake to happen too. So sometimes you just look at the way how you are preparing yourself, how you are molding yourself from inside. And it helps not just in an everyday thing like this, like a neighborly things, but it helps you eventually in your family as such. It helps you in your work. It just helps you preparing to be you. And trying to now summarize, let's say, our thoughts over here for this hour. Let me try to again quote Bill Bryson. That's Bill Bryson. It's not from this book. This book, I just read the book. It's a brand new book. It's an amazing book, by the way. But here it is what Bill Bryson says about you in his another book. I'm trying to again quote him. It is a fact. Consider the fact that for 3.8 billion years, a time older than the Earth's sea, ocean, or mountains and rivers, that each and every one of your ancestors from both the sides, each and every one of your ancestors was attractive enough to find a mate, healthy enough to reproduce, and blessed by fate and consequences to live long enough to do so. Not any single time for both of them from your ancestors, not one of them was squashed, devoured, drowned, stranded, stuck fast, starved, untimely wounded, or in any way deflected from his life's quest of transferring a tiny amount of genetic material to the right partner at the right moment in order to perpetuate the only not only, or to perpetuate the only combination, hereditary combinations, which eventually, astoundingly, but all too briefly, will suffice into you. You literally, you, when I say you means you, every person who's listening over here, you literally are the spear end of the entire evolutionary line that's behind you. Or that millions, maybe millions of years, maybe thousands of years, you are at the forefront of the civilization of now what to do and how to take it forward. It means there is amazing amount of burden that rests on the shoulder of us to how to make sure now we go and do progressively more better things for not just us, but the society, but for the collective civilizations too. And that's going to be how we want to now think about this totality, what's happening, not just isolating yourself to solve the problems in front of you. But I think we have to ask ourselves going forward, what is going to define us as a culture? And what will be the measure of success for our human species? How are we going to, in the peacetime, right now, let's say it's a wartime area, war against this virus. But when it comes to the peacetime, how are we going to define the measure of success? Is it going to be thousands of intercontinental ballistic missile silos, or it's going to be amazing armies of WHO people to go and look at all the wet markets and regulate all the wet markets in the world. All means all, including India, 1.3 billion people, and China, 1.7 billion people, whatever it is. That's, I think we all together have to start thinking about it, right? Because when we say design, it's not just solving and looking at the benefit at the end user or benefit of the client, the brand, or the benefit of the society. I think we have to look at the benefit of the biosphere itself too. Means, or else we don't need to be another lockdown in 3-4 years again. That will drive people mad. Like, why didn't we learn? Means, first mistake happens, shame on, what was that? Shame on you or shame on me? Second, shame on me, right? It should not be again shaming completely again here. So this is time to pivot to see how we can, as designers, some of us are designers, some of them might not be. We don't need to be a designer to think about the culture, but how to try to make sure, can something be changed to make sure we can define the culture? And that's why I think we are a human-centric design studio, and we have been doing that for last 86 consecutive years. I'm grateful to be with a studio like this, but now we should be thinking about, especially in cases like this, it might not be for the design of a pen or something, but we have to think about what would be the humanity-centric design perspectives, at least to solve these big, hairy, audacious problems in the world. So, having said that, thank you again for your time. 1 hour, I would say, as a mid of the week, mid of the month, kind of a happy hour time. I was trying to drink my cup of tea, but I will still go and reheat it and drink it. But if you have any other elements that you want to make comments upon, or you want to let us know your ideas, your suggestions, or throw some questions for the next one, I try to read through them meticulously and look at them, and again go back to some of the notes that I already have, or I try to read something else and rephrase it in a different way. And as I think, as Lanya said, it will be great if you can follow us on Instagram, on Twitter. We always have plenty of articles on our website, Sundberg-Ferar.com. Feel free to reach out, and till that time, enjoy the spring coming ahead. Thank you.